The bottom right.
Oh, 11 and 12. We jumped into it.
Oh,
Fuck. All right.
okay, all right, all
All
right.
right, I'm
You can
recording.
go.
And we'll kind of do the intro now while the people are picking anyway. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Straight A. Dawson here.
What's up? Been here.
And we are here with a mock
Nope.
draft, a duo mock draft. Ben and I are getting ready for the fantasy football season. My first draft is literally tomorrow, and both of our drafts for our league is in 2 days. So we are just getting prepped for some finalization here. We're doing a half PPR quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, tight end, flex, kicker, and defense league or draft here. So we're going to be talking about our picks as it kind of goes forward. It's a live draft with other people, so we're going to be here for a minute, but we'll kind of just be chilling. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty standard of the standards draft. It's pretty good. I will say, I will be drafted. I mean, you will be too, but for our league purposes and what we're doing, it is a two flex league.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else is normal QB, two wide receiver, two running back, tight end, and two flexes. So, I mean, we'll be drafting like that too. So it will look a little wonky on the final scoreboard, but sometimes you just got to make do with what you have.
Hey,
You
exactly.
never know.
Exactly, and I'm excited for it because this year, of course, I think Ben is going to join me for a series for fantasy football every week, where we talk about some stuff, go through our leagues, and just talk about what our thoughts and feelings are about probably mostly the leagues I'm joining, the leagues I'm doing this year, because I think you can kind of see it on screen or up in the tabs there. I have like 8 leagues I'm already in, and I want to kind of do a series of upkeeping those. And Ben's definitely going to help me for seriously in one of them, and of course we're competing in the other one. So maybe the weeks that we're facing off, we don't as much care about that. But so yeah, as Ben said, I'm drafting from the 11 position, and you're drafting from 6, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm in the six hole. We've got a pretty standard set of guys going right here. And I think that for anybody watching that has no clue of what's going on with their fantasy league, how they want to do it, I definitely think a top eight pick is the best place for you to be. You want one of those elite guys. See, right here at pick six, you've got a selection between Bijan Robinson and Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, three of your elite guys left. Which one do you want? I mean, I tend to lean with Bijan over Jamar just for the fact that, he's one of those guys that can get you over 300 points. Um, but, there's variability. We'll see that with Dawson, too. You can run it from the opposite side of that coin and take two guys at that 12-13 slot, 11-14 slot, and, you know, have your pros that way too.
Mm.
So, but I think that's the big thing for me was trying to get one of these elite, so to speak, guys, one of these league winners.
Mm. No, I think I am still buying into the top 8. Obviously, top 8 is a great position to be in because all 8 of those guys could be very potentially great. I'm always going to be preference to the latter half of the round, mostly because I think in almost every year there's going to be about 12 to 16 good players, maybe elite 8, elite 6, whatever that is that year. And I just like having safety nets. Last year in our league, actually, I won it. Ended up I had Saquon, not Saquon, fucking Nick Chubb and
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb. So Nick Chubb obviously went out week 2. CeeDee Lamb basically helped me win a league. So it's really that's what I like about it because you get a little bit of safety net. You get basically a good, really good player, if not elite, at least with that elite upside. And of course, right now you're kind of seeing the top 8 now gone. You got people like AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jameer Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor. I'm a big Jonathan Taylor guy. I think this year, if he falls at 11 to me, that's who I'm very happy about. Jameer Gibbs, I'm not as high on just because David Montgomery steals so much from him, especially for a first round pick. Puka with Cooper Cup back, that's not great. So here, easily looking at it, if people get taking Saquon, I don't think that's a great pick because he doesn't have high upside. I think you got, of course, Garrett Wilson, who I know people are truthers on. AJ Brown as well. I'm not as much high on Wilson, but I also respect the pick because he does have that potential. But I'm going Taylor here 9 times out of 10. I think he is a potentially great running back this next season, and I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor at my 11th slot. And of course, what's great about this turn is now I still think there's some high upside wide receivers if I decide to go that way, but also there is a Saquon for round 2 if I want to Saquon, if I want maybe a Derrick Henry type player. And get that option because Jameer Gibbs and Puka both went off the board straight away. And so now I'm like sitting here. I don't like Marvin Harrison Jr. all that much in terms of a second round pick. I'd rather go with a higher upside player like Derrick Henry or Saquon. This case, I'm probably going with Saquon just because the bye weeks don't line up, and I think Saquon and Derrick Henry are about the same. So I'm not going to be a truther one way or the other. Go with whoever you want, but I'm going to go Saquon in this case for a double running back hero start. With kind of a later round picks. I feel like that works better for you, especially for that 3, 4, 5, 6 turn. it just seems to work out better for me because I'm not high on Drake London too. He's a good player, but I don't think for a second round pick. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm really bought into Drake London. I think that the whole shebang with Atlanta, with Kirk Cousins coming in and a new coaching staff, kind of a refresher. I think he's pretty safe. And if he falls to me at this spot, forbidding someone else that I would see higher than him coming, yeah, I would jump on him. I like him. I like the upside. I think he's a great player. And I mean, I think that there's a lot of ways you can go about it. I mean, you took the double hero RB start. I don't mind the single hero RB and just waiting it out until round 5, and you see a guy like Joe Mixon or somebody of that nature
Mm-hmm.
that if they happen to fall to a good value, I mean, there's no problem with that at all. Not in my opinion anyway. I think it's fairly safe. And see, this is what I see a lot in mocks is Drake London coming down to this spot. I think he's pretty safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably what I would do in this situation, but if you started a different way, I wouldn't necessarily blame somebody else for going that different way. But that's just my personal preference. I love the upside with Drake London. I think he could be huge for teams this year.
So is there? So of course I saw Kyron Williams at 2.5. That's another guy I would 100% consider taking. Essentially, in my running back start, if basically 2 of these 4 guys are there, maybe if it's only Derrick Henry and Saquon, I probably wouldn't do it. But if Taylor, Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry, Saquon are all there, I'm taking 2 of those 4. I think that's what I like. Again, don't like the receiver value there. But is there anybody currently that you think is going too early? You think there's somebody that's overrated? Like Devontae Adams at 2.8. I'm just not a big fan of Adams. Obviously, I think that the round makes sense for him, but I mean, right now I don't see anything too crazy. I don't like Puka going as high as he is, but I mean that's where the value is right now for him. So
So you're asking me about this draft in particular
yeah,
on people going.
any abnormalities you
Well, I
think?
mean, the first thing that sticks out to me just looking at the most recent picks, Olave is a little bit scarier of a pick now
Mm-hmm.
because of what we've seen Derek Carr looking like this preseason. I'm not high on Achan. I know a lot of experts are. I know a lot of people really like Achan. I'm just a little fearful of what that situation could bring. Hurts is another one that is just, I don't think I'm taking him at pick 20. I just don't think there's any way. EK Metcalf just went at pick 28.
Mm-hmm.
He's slated about pick 40 or so. He's about the 40th overall player. So there's a few players in here. And like you said with Puka, I'm not big on Puka at all.
Mm-hmm.
He scares me just a bit. But when picks like that happen, you can take advantage of really good guys. Yeah, I'm looking at James Cook right now, and I think he is a top 20 player.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's fringe, but I think he is top 20, which is why I would absolutely take him here. Especially in a 2 flex type of league that we're in. I think you just kind of want in that tight end and quarterback area in order to build the flex guys, because you're always going to have safe options. You want to go Ferguson in the 7th, or if you want to go Muth in the 12th, if you don't want to just absolutely jump up for one of those top 8 tight ends. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure, for sure. No, James Cook is absolutely, when you kind of mentioned the other day, because I don't draft from that position, so I really don't see him as like it's too much of a reach for me, or if it's I just miss him. But I really like Cook where he's going because it's good value for you the middle round. If you get one running back, one wide receiver, you get a safe second running back, and then get to move on with your strategy. So because running backs seem like always the thing you kind of have to focus on one way or the other, just because they go so quickly and there's a finite number of them that actually can be confident producers. Which actually I kind of almost forgot that it was my turn here. Joe Mixon, Deebo Samuel off the board. At this point, obviously, I'm not really looking at running backs. All the running backs here are fine, but I'm not like the biggest fan. I maybe would consider picking up one in the double flex league. But even then, I'd rather go with like an elite quarterback. Like Patrick Mahomes, again, at the end of 3, beginning of 4, I probably would wait till the beginning of 4. But I'm going to go with my safe pick of Michael Pittman. I think him and Anthony Richardson are going to do very well. He's a safe wide receiver. I don't like Jalen Waddle behind Tyreek. Brandon Ayuk, just too much going on. DJ Moore, I'm just too nervous about that Chicago offense. Just way too nervous. I might take him here if Michael Pittman's gone or something, or there's no other good picks. But more than likely, I'd always want to go someone like Michael Pittman. Patrick Mahomes just went off the board, which is unfortunate because that's who I would have went with. And now it's tempting to take Lamar Jackson here because, again, if I'm not taking the first 4 quarterbacks here, I'm probably not taking the quarterback for a while. In this case, I'm probably going to take him because I don't like the wide receiver value here. The running backs, I just don't think are valuable here. Again, I consider taking a running back if it was a double flex league, but not really this case. I'm going to take Lamar, get that fourth quarterback off the board here, basically. So it's a debatable pick, but I think I like him enough to kind of be able to kind of slot him in, especially if Zay Flowers later might fall to me. I think it's a decent pick to kind of pair up with some stack up pieces, maybe even Mark Andrews depending.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about the strategy that you want, what you like, what you want to do, how you want to build the team if you prioritize the quarterback. Um, I feel like just for me in these situations, I go for a lot of like strict value. Um, Guys like James Cook, Phil, Rashad White was one a little bit that um, maybe if I was not prioritizing a quarterback, I would have headed that route or a Kenneth. Um, but it's kind of different strokes, and you can see from picks 15 to about 50, it's really tough to find a good running back unless you get him at good value. At this point, at pick 43, I'm going to take Ayuk. I think that's fantastic value. It
Yeah.
could be me, but I I just have to take him at this point.
I think Ayuk and Kamara are kind of good picks around that range. I probably wouldn't take them where I was just because there's safer options at that point. But I think Kamara and Ayuk at that point have a high enough upside in their strategies, especially if Ayuk stays on the 49ers, especially if Kamara gets a lot of the attention, especially with that offense not being great other than Olave, basically. It could be really good. So I don't blame you for taking Ayuk there at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough trying to decide how you want to go about a team, and then you get there and it's not exactly panning the way you want. I think that's a big important thing is knowing your draft. You got to know how the people are going to draft. You got to understand the trends. If you see quarterbacks starting to fall a little bit, they're not getting jumped on quite as much. You probably want to let them fall. See if you can get another flex guy in there. And see, I kind of like what you did when you were prioritizing the quarterback. You stuck with it and went ahead and took Lamar at that pick. Was he a bit pricey for that range? Sure, I'll give you that. But at the same time, he was not going to be coming back. So if you wanted him, you had to pay the price. So I get it in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a guy, especially in a 4-point passing touchdown league where you really need a guy that's mobile on his feet,
Mm-hmm.
I would completely understand that pick. That would be even better value in a 4-point, but
Mm-hmm.
it still stands. Sometimes you have to weigh the balance of, are you going to go about it in the way that you're committed to your strategy, or maybe I'm not going to be as committed to this. I don't really want to do this at this point, which is, both are fine options. You have to do what makes you feel the most comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And I'll tell you what makes me feel the most.
Oh yeah.
Huh?
No,
What?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the thing that makes me feel most comfortable is George Pickens.
Ben's laughing
I
there
am
because
s-
I'm
I
not a big fan of Pickens.
George Pickens. I am high on George Pickens.
Again, I think you explained it with the kind of the Cortland Sutton kind of effect. There is basically he's going to get a lot of the strokes there. Strokes, I don't know why. A lot of the reps there. He's going to get a lot of value, and I think especially with him being pretty much the only wide receiver there. I'm trying to think who's behind him even. But he's basically the guy there, and he's going to be treated like that no matter what. I think it's going to be better with Russ than Justin Fields, so it depends on how the quarterback situation kind of pans out. I just never been a big fan of Pickens. I don't think he's that good. I think he's kind of right below Olave and London. I think they're just fine. They're reliable, great quarterbacks. Wide receivers, sorry.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's just how we talked about this last night off the record, but it was definitely like it's an Arthur Smith offense, which if anybody listens to the CBS fantasy podcast, they know that I'm about to spill out exactly what Dave Richards spilled out a few weeks ago, that it's an Arthur Smith ran offense. It is a one wide receiver type of thing. If Ayuk is not there, he doesn't go there. It's going to be just fine for George Pickens.
Okay, so I'm gonna stand still here because there's two players that were on my mind here. Obviously, with Zay Flowers being a double up there, but Dalton Kincaid, I really like Kincaid. This year with Allen having no
Yeah.
real receivers there, I think Kincaid is kind of like honestly great value for where he's going, especially at the end of the tight ends. Kind of similar to how I think Lamar and Patrick Mahomes are going to go. I think Kincaid is just too good a value for me to pass up there, especially in the 5-6 turn. Especially with so many wide receivers that are still great on the board. I love a Zay Flowers. I love a Terry McLaurin. And Mark Cooper, I think, is fine. Like Christian Kirk, I'm a big Christian Kirk stan, but I'm going to go the double up here because I have Lamar. I'm going to take Zay Flowers and just go and load up my week 14, basically. And basically call that week a wash. Now, what's interesting, though, about that is I thought it just occurred to me, Ben.
Hmm.
The league that we're talking about, and I'm not going to really reference it because it's going to be for the video later, that we're going to be teaming up on, this is likely not something we'd want to do. We wouldn't want to, like, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers by 14 stack up because the bye week, or sorry, not the bye week, the playoffs start in week 14. So it's a kind of an interesting thought I've just had, but we're not drafting for that, obviously, but I
Yeah.
thought it just occurred for that.
You will have to be careful. You will have to be careful in that instance for sure.
That's why I need you, man. That's why I need you to help me out in that one. It's a big money league, so that's why we gotta win it for the people, man.
See, this is the exact position that I'm talking about right here. Is a lot of people didn't see that value with the running backs, and then the fifth round hit, and they started flying off the board. That is why you want to find good value. You want to take one with those first two picks, and you are really hoping that some value is going to come to you because right now it's pretty tough sledding for some of these guys. I mean, it looks like to me. I mean, we've got DeAndre Swift, who's possibly going to be in a committee. Javante Williams and Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson. All these guys are in committees. I don't want to do that. I look at the receivers and I see Tank Dell. That is huge value right there. And then I'm like, do I want to take a quarterback? Do I think it'll work? Possibly, maybe. With quarterbacks kind of slipping at this point, I might take a risk and go Tank Dell. TJ will come back to me here in a little bit. If he doesn't, we'll move off of it, go for something else.
Who was it you hope came back to you? Obviously, I'm not picking next, so I mean,
Well,
you can tell.
I'll see if I was seeing if CJ was going to come back, but he literally just went
Oh,
at the next pick. I was talking about how I guess I jinxed it. I hadn't seen a quarterback go in a little while, outside of Richardson,
let's say big fall
but
off there. And man,
it seemed
Richardson
like they
going.
were.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that it seemed like it was pretty calm. It seemed like it was pretty calm for the quarterbacks. They weren't just flying off the board,
Hmm.
but it's very possible they can at any moment.
No, it's kind of weird that you mentioned that
It's like
Anthony Richardson kind of went shortly after, not shortly, but a little bit after Lamar, and then actually pretty much
hmm
right after Lamar, and then before Stroud. I don't know if I like Richardson there. That feels like a big nuclear button option at 6'4".
Well, I think you're either bought in on Richardson or you're not. I think that's how a lot of people are. I think fantasy experts rank him highly, probably around number 50 or so, just due to his sheer upside. I mean, the 3 to 4 weeks that he was playing, he was awesome. Um, Possibly, though, maybe it goes downhill. We don't know what's going to happen, and
Hmm.
you
No,
just
that's fair.
never can tell.
That is fair.
Um,
Interesting question for. Oh, your pick's coming up. I'll let you do that first before I give you a
Oh,
question.
I mean, well, see, right here is a pretty interesting spot because it's like, what do you do now? Do you take a running back at this point? I don't really know. I don't think that the value really suits any of these guys, but there are some guys on this receiver spot that look pretty good. I'm going to I'm going to go about this and say I'm going to go the safe route and take one of the top 8 tight ends.
Hmm.
It's a bit of a reach, but we got about half a round. It's not horrible. Um,
Yeah.
just playing it, just playing it like I probably would. I didn't really want to wait on Bowers. I feel like he's going to go earlier in some leagues. especially with the guys that I'm around. I don't think he'll fall to that 10 spot like a lot of people feel like he will. I think he'll probably end up flying up the board soon.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
By
fair.
flying up, I mean round or two before. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be very possible that those guys jump a round or two, but
That is fair. Oh man, okay. And I just looked at pretty much all back-to-back picks of people I really wanted of Godwin, Singletary, and Kirk. All three of them went. So now I'm kind of left in a scramble of like I don't like the value of any of these running backs here. The wide receivers at this point, I'm tempted Xavier Worthy just because the upside is there, but I just don't. I'm not bought into it. Obviously, I don't need a quarterback or anything else. So I am in a weird spot here. I think I know who I'm taking, but I'm just kind of looking through see if there's anybody I want to reach on right now. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and. Oh wait, it's 10. I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was 10 for a second. But either way, still kind of stands true. I'm going to go ahead and take Zach Moss. I think he's a fine running back 3. Good guy to kind of hedge bets on at this point for a third running back in a kind of flex position play. Lets me kind of see the value that's left on the board. I'm not really particularly fond of anybody here, so it's like Watson's like it's an interesting choice. I'm like Watson a year ago was like such a tempting choice for so many people. I never really bought into it. Xavier Worthy, you got DeAndre Hopkins, which you're never going to see me bought on DeAndre Hopkins. Weirdly enough, though, at this point, I'm probably going to reach a little bit and go Sutton, just because I like him as a reliable wide receiver. He's the only main guy there in receiving core for Bo Nix. So I'm going to take Cortland Sutton. That one's a little bit of a reach, but that's kind of how I'd play it here, because at this point, I got my running backs I need. You could maybe argue someone else, but I'd rather reach or get some backups later on. Xavier Worthy is a worthy conversation. So is Hollywood, but with the unknown territory of Kansas City right now, I'm just not fond of it. Hopkins, I'm not fond of it. Christian Watson, I'm not fond of him. So really, it's just Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cortland Sutton, and Sutton's a safe pick, so I went with him.
ooh, what do I want to do here? See, there are some of these running backs that I really want to take, and it's not the right. It is not the right time for them. They really just kind of flew under. I feel like the obvious options here are either going with Christian Watson or his quarterback, Jordan Love.
So let me
I
scroll.
think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to take Jordan Love, finalize my at least starting up lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. Well, I'm not disappointed in having a team like that right there. Of course, there are questionable spots. Maybe Ayuk doesn't perform, and we have to worry about that once we get there, but I don't think it's that big of a worry.
That's completely valid at the moment. That's weird they put Cortland Sutton in my flex and not Zach Moss. Since he was my first pick. Either way, interesting. Let's see. You're right here. You got Jordan Love, Bijan, James Cook, Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, Evan Ingram, George Pickens. Solid lineup. I think a very good, solid, good floor. I think that this team is going to do well no matter what.
Yeah, I mean,
Potential of a ceiling is what I'm kind of seeing from your team. So it's been pretty good.
I think it's pretty safe. I think it's a pretty safe lineup. Got a couple RBs that are going to get a workload. Safe RB or QB and Jordan Love, he's going to get you the 20 points a game you need. Don't really have to worry much about him. Drake London has sky high upside. Evan Ingram is in a tight end friendly system. I don't see much that can go horribly wrong outside of injuries. Tank Dell, I guess, would be the main thing. If he ends up the 3, I have no idea if he will. I don't think he will, though. I think he's going to take that over at least midseason.
Really?
I mean, he is Stroud's favorite target. He is Stroud's favorite target. They have such a great chemistry, rapport. I mean, you listen to Stroud talk about him, everybody knows it. And, he loves Tank Dell. I feel like I would just have to. I would have to. I'd have to think that there's a possibility that.
Well,
Oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I
taking
just
Zeke? Are you
need
taking Zeke?
Emily is back. No, I am not.
Oh,
No,
come
I'm
on.
not.
He's the
I'm
running back
taking
1. He's
man
prime.
on the pup. I'm taking the man on pup list.
Nick
I'm gonna
Chubb?
take an
You
advantage.
taking
I'm
fucking Nick
gonna
Chubb?
take an. I am, yeah. See, this is the problem with the team now is that it's running back week. I am one running back injury away from being put in a really, really bad
So you
spot.
take someone who just got injured from a really bad injury last year as your backup for that?
I'm trusting in these two guys don't really have any said problems yet with injuries, knock
Yeah.
on wood. It is a mock draft, but um I just kind of think they're pretty safe.
When did he get
If
hurt?
I can get through 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and Chubb is there by week 5, that becomes an immediately pretty scary team.
Yeah, but I mean, for one, is Chubb would Chubb be the same? Number one, and two, if he was the same, would he not? Would they not want to split carries with him for at least a while? With Jerome Ford.
He would probably want to split carries and ease him in for the first couple weeks. I mean, he's going to be getting the rust off. Um, but still, I mean, you're looking at half a fantasy season with a guy that you're going to be expecting to
Fucking Zeke's
get a
there.
boatload of carries for that. I think.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Um,
He-
so there's two people I'm looking at here. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm taking Zeke here. I know. It's gonna. If honestly, if I select him in our draft, Ben, I'll be the fucking meme of the century. I'll be honest with you. But man, Lan McConkey, by the way, was my secondary pick. But my third pick, who I think is just as good as Keon Coleman. I love Keon Coleman. I think, especially with now having two of the Bills players here, I'm okay with that because it kind of mitigates my risk of who actually gets the love there. Obviously, this is your mock draft, but I have Dalton Kincaid as well. So I think those those two people are going to be the main targets. Do I see Keon Coleman starting every week? Definitely not, but I like Keon Coleman, especially if you don't have another Bills receiver or something like that. I would definitely take Keon Coleman around the 10 mark as just good value as well. So, as you were kind of saying, kind of referring to, sorry, who's the last player drafted? Because Nick Chubb. No, I think he's great value. I think he is potentially a league winner this year just because he's going so low and he is Nick Chubb. It is a risk. It is quite frankly a risk. And is he going to be the same? His body's still the same. He seems like he's recovering well. It's just whether his legs and he's going to be as mobile. Is it kind of a Zeke situation where he's going to slowly go downhill from now on? It's a curious thought.
yeah, I mean, it depends on it just depends on the circumstance. But I'm willing to take that risk for sure.
Well,
I'll take I'll try and take another running back. They're going to be all backups now, but at least there's some potential for Trey Benson to take that starting job from James Conner. Um, Not a huge fan of the running back room right now, but at least there is a tiny bit of upside right there.
no, I agree. I think both of us seem we went two different paths. It looks like, but obviously, but I think we both have a very well-rounded team for the most part. Obviously, you're I think you're a little bit more well-balanced than I am. I think you have a lot safer picks than I do. But also, I think a lot of my picks have a lot of potential. There's like four players with high potential there, and then a couple players that are more safer options that maybe are mid-range safe in terms of like they're going to get you 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns type people. Um,
Oh yeah.
so, and then I think there's some good value here. Like I said, I like Keon Coleman. I like Zach Moss. I like Zeke. All his lower round picks is just good value as backups to these guys. And, I kind of looking at your people. Tank Dell, I'm a little nervous on because I think of the storylines you can tell there. Tank Dell is probably the guy who I can see not eating in that offense the most. Trey Benson obviously is fine. You can't really. I'm not going to judge a backup running back who could take a job. And then Nick Chubb it's a risky pick, but it's a pick.
I think, see, I'm very high on Tank. I think he is definitely susceptible to a slow start,
Mm-hmm.
but I think by the time it's said and done, he'll be one of the alphas in that offense. I mean, Stroud was feeding him the ball when he was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
No, it's very fair.
I have a lot of belief in Tank. I just think that personal relationship, not even mentioning his talent, but like I think that personal relationship right there will be enough
Mm-hmm.
to kind of push him a little forward.
I like that. Interesting. Could have got Brock Bowers here in this draft this low.
Yeah, I could have. No kidding about that. I did not expect Brock Bowers to be here. This is.
Oh, wait, yeah, damn. Forgot about Mike Williams.
I am not a fan of any of this. I'm going to go with.
Picks here, yeah.
I'm going to go with Algier
Yeah.
to back up on behind one of my main starters in case they get injured,
Yeah.
just to try and save myself. Well,
I think even after,
in case.
even not having Bijan there, he's probably the best pick here. I mean, Chandler's the current starter, right, for Minnesota, but is he going to be lasting there? Probably not. So, like, that's just a short-term pick. And there's not.
I mean,
really
I don't
receiver
think
room.
Minnesota will really be running the ball either. I mean,
That's
they're
also
going to be
true.
trailing in a lot of games. They're going to be throwing the ball.
That is very true.
I just don't see it.
I do not blame you there. Am I missing something, with Mike Williams, other than his ACL tear? Is recovering from it still, or is
I
there
mean,
something else there?
yeah, I mean, just that. He's a little older. He's the two in his offense now with Rodgers. I mean,
Okay, I was curious why he's going at 11, which I'm never. Again, he's just too injury prone for me to really sink my teeth into. I don't really draft injury prone people. I like safer picks, so I'm not really considering. But just was curious there. Brock Bowers just went right before me. Man,
that is unfortunate.
yeah, I know. I was going to take him in a heartbeat.
Did you at least take a tight end? I can't.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
took Kincaid. Okay.
Kincaid, yeah. So like I'm basically just wide receivers and
So,
running backs at this point. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Okay. Of my favorite picks here, I think I like Herbert the most, and I think I'm going to take Herbert just because in the offense I think he's going to eat a lot of touchdowns. So I'm going to take Herbert as my last running back I'm taking. I know it's a reach because technically Gibson and McLaughlin are all rated higher. I don't see McLaughlin getting as much love as people think so. Antonio Gibson's fine, but again, not a big fan of it. Especially behind Ramondre Stevenson, who I think actually could do well this next season. Kind of looking at the receivers now. I'm pretty much drafting just receivers. Judy, I mean, he's the obvious kind of pick for me here because I love Jerry Judy, but also Amari Cooper's still there. Deshaun Watson's still throwing the ball. I'm not a big fan of it. Actually, funny enough, at this point, I actually would rather take Thielen than pretty much everybody here. But again, at this point, you're just kind of reaching for your guys, and Thielen here I still think is going to eat a little bit more. But I'm going to take Mooney because I love Mooney. I pressured myself into taking Mooney because I saw him. I was like, oh, actually, I kind of like Mooney. You could take honestly, you could take Thielen, Judy, or Mooney there. I kind of rate them all similarly. Jerry Judy, I don't probably as high on. I think it's my bias coming out of him, so kind of avoid players I have too much of a bias for. Thielen though, probably a good option, but I remember Deontay Johnson was there and Darnell Mooney. I'd rather Darnell be behind London than Thielen behind Deontay Johnson. Because I think there's a higher chance of Mooney getting the ball from Kirk than there is Thielen getting the ball from Bryce Young again this year. Is kind of my logic there. But
see, well, if this person isn't taken, I'm going to take Gabe Davis. Nice. He's a really talented receiver. I think he has potential to make a big difference in that offense. Obviously, just the highest floor of all of them, but I think he's worthy of a bench spot. He's not a guy that I would be afraid of having to start in a pinch.
Mm-hmm. No, I think Gabe Davis is very, very good value, especially around 12. I think he's just fine. A very fair pick because he's still wide receiver 2 there. People forget. And Christian Kirk has had some minor injuries here and there, and Gabe Davis had some big games. So it's not unlikely that, especially if you have an Evan Ingram too. I mean, you kind of have a dual 2/3 of that offense, and essentially in the passing offense at least, or receiving offense. And at this point, we're just kind of talking about people we're basically reaching on because, I mean, once you get past once we get to round 11, essentially, maybe round 10, you kind of just taking your guys that are kind of decent value there. Like, there's not too much to talk about in terms of, like, for sure great picks or not bad, or not great picks at 12 to 13, 14, 15. Who are some of your guys? Who are you kind of looking at as like some of your guys that you'd like be willing to kind of spend that 13, 14, 15? We saw Gabe Davis, but I think he's a pretty good obvious pick. Is there anybody else that kind of is gone off the board that you're kind of willing to take a chance on at this point?
Well, if we're talking about people that have went off the board, I think Dalton Schultz is a possibility. If you are looking for someone to say punt for tight end,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that Marshawn Lloyd is a player who went off the board. That they just cut AJ Dillon. He's going to be moving into the second RB role.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not the most promising, but it's worth it to have a backup in case of an injury. Um, you know, Khalil Shakir is another guy that went in the 11th. I think he's got a good bit of upside.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, what I like to do is I like to take a rookie receiver because I watch a lot of college football, so I get to see those guys and come into the league. So I usually like to draft a rookie receiver with my very last pick that I just think like has a good bit of upside. I think he could pan out pretty well. Um, I've got to keep that one secret, though. Of course, I can't do that. Expose it to the world.
Rookie
Maybe I might do
receiver.
it.
Rookie receiver.
I'll take a rookie
Ah,
receiver.
I see
Always
your
do.
Xavier
Always.
Leggett guy. I gotcha. Oh, I'd be very surprised.
No, it's not. It's not Leggett. Even though he does have upside, I will say that he does have upside. I just think that Deontay he's going to eat in that offense, and I think Thielen is kind of the established vet. Xavier Leggett is a pretty tough dude, though. I think he could end up being really good, but
Very, very fair. Very fair. Um, so I'm kind of metagaming this a little bit, or not, because I'm looking at defenses now. I try to steer off defenses in case you weren't going to go defense. But then I saw you pick a defense. I was like, all right, fuck it. Um, which one did you pick? You picked the Cowboys, which is the safest pick. I mean, I'm not
I
gonna.
took the Cowboys.
It's the safest pick. The Cowboys have a decently tough schedule, but so does pretty much everybody here: Cleveland Browns, Steelers, Jets. Actually, Jets. I don't know. That's what I'm looking up right now. And 49ers I'm also looking up. 49ers I know have a decently hard schedule, but also not the worst schedule in the world. So kind of metagaming in that way, but I'll either take the Jets or the 49ers here as a defense. And I'm going to take the 49ers because it's the 49ers, and the Jets just went off the board anyway. So I think the 49ers probably just 49ers, Cowboys, Jets, even Browns you can throw in there. I think are just all very four good defenses that you can kind of count on. Cowboys are just a very safe pick just because they decimated teams last year. But they also just had their fair share of not doing great. Another one who I'm a fan of is Brandon Aubrey. I think Brandon Aubrey is just a great kicker. Him and Hurt or Butker I'd be happy with. You can even kind of convince me about maybe Elliott, Moody. Kind of convince me about any of those guys. But Butker and Aubrey are kind of my two top kickers this year, which is not too much of a conversation to have, but it's still relevant enough.
For sure. Um, yeah, I don't worry about kickers too much. It's tough. What are you gonna do with some of the picks? I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of just a shot in the dark. Who's gonna score field goals? Who's not going to score a bunch of touchdowns?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll just take Jason Sanders because he's on a good team.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm bound to get some points here and there.
It's
Not really
almost.
worried about a kick. It's not that big of a deal.
I saw someone make the argument of why, like, for example, like when Justin Tucker was really popular, obviously when he did the record breaker, because I was kind of behind you where you want a team that doesn't score too many touchdowns. So maybe like honestly, kind of like a Houston, kind of like probably not Philadelphia. Um, I don't know. Just trying to think these teams are kind of almost that tier. Like even who the Browns kicker is. I don't know. I'm thinking those teams who maybe don't have the best running back room and maybe don't have the like high upside of like 30 plus touchdowns from their quarterback. What kind of kickers do they have? But someone made a note of the amount of times that really good teams are in very 45 plus 49 plus what's called kicking range for tying up the game. You want to have that because they make up the points over time, and even if they don't necessarily make it up enough to get the high value that you take a chance on for a middle tier kicker, it's still worth it enough. So that's kind of the logic I've
Right.
heard from somebody. I forgot who it was, but they kind of explained it that way. So I guess there's not that much of a difference between higher tier and middle tier. If anything, you're taking more of a chance on a middle tier kicker than a higher tier kicker, I guess in a sense. Because if you're hoping Young Hoku
Right.
is in range enough, but what if they end up being really good and now he's just kicking extra points and stuff like that, versus a Tyler Bass who
Right.
can kick the rock a little bit. So
All right.
who's your
Here's a
receiver?
rookie that I like, Mr. Jermaine Burton.
Interesting. I like it though. I like it. The hair too.
That
That's a
is
mugshot.
one of my guys. That's feeling. I feel good about Burton. I think he could make a role, especially if T. Higgins kind of lags out this year. He doesn't want to play for Cincy. He wanted out, and the like. And then he all of a sudden comes up into a two role.
Mm-hmm.
Never
Sure.
will.
And two roll can get, and especially in that offense, can get some love some games. The 15th here. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I am kind of a fan of Poke this year. Which honestly, if I thought about this, I probably would have went Thielen Poke. But honestly, I don't know. I'll probably still go Thielen here because I think I kind of like that dual threat, or not dual threat, but the kind of the mitigating my my risk with either team, because I think one of the guys is probably going to be the main guy, but which one is it going to be? Because they're both wide receivers twos at the moment. I think one of them will be that. I just don't know which one. Jahan Dotson, not the worst pick either, but I think I'm going to go Thielen. Poke, it's tough, but I'm just going to not even think about it. We'll go Thielen. He's a safe pick, so I'm not going to change it.
I like it. All right.
Yeah.
That is a fantasy draft for you.
Well, we're not-
Right through the books.
Yeah, about to say we're going to talk about a team. So I got an 80 out of 100. Out of curiosity, what'd you get?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at their scores too much, just like they do that based off of their picks
Yeah.
and stuff. I don't even know what I got. I probably did not get a grade. Right there. Let's see. What's my draft analysis? Oh, okay. I got an 88.
Got an 88? Hell yeah. All right, there you go.
Okay,
that's value.
that's probably one of the highest scores I've ever gotten. Well, that's probably because I got a lot of value. I would say a lot of value.
So I'm kind of going team by team here. We're just gonna look at each one. I gotta remember how to actually like. Oh fuck you and all this. Can I just look at your fucking team? Why are you not letting me look at his fucking team? Oh my god.
If you go to draft analysis and look at the draft board, you can see.
Yeah, I don't want to go. Draft. Okay, whatever. Fine. Just know this column right here, the one with Bijan Robinson, is the one with him. But Jordan Love. There you go. Okay, Jordan Love. I mean, high upside, pretty decent pick, I'd say. I think he's got a lot of upside, especially where you got him. Bijan, James Cook, great running back duo. I'm not going to dispute that one at all. Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, very interesting because I think, again, to me, that's not a very good wide receiver room, but also acknowledge that London has good upside. And I acknowledge that Ayuk, when he's there and good, he's going to do great. So, I mean, I can't really fault the wide receiver room, especially at Pickens, who's more of a safer pick to me. And Evan Ingram, very solid, just fine tight end to get right outside that bubble of elite tight ends, I think. Dallas defense, Jason Sanders, all good. Then your depth. I don't hate your depth, but I also just don't like. I like your depth from my heart, but I also don't like it for my sanity because this would make me so fucking nervous throughout the whole fucking season.
Yeah, it really just kind of bottoms out there. I mean, this is not a very deep team at all. I mean, I'll have to be really careful and hope I do not get any injuries, especially to James Cook. At least I could start Algier, but
All right, what do you think here about me then? I kind of quickly went through your team. What I thought. What do you kind of think for me here for the Lamar Jackson?
here's a crazy thing. I just got a picture from my friend Jack, who I do a lot of fantasy leagues with. I think. Is that readable?
Yeah, not for
Is
the
that even
camera, but
readable?
I mean, it's not really readable the board wise. But say September 1st, 2019, we can see that.
Okay, you can see that. So you know that this is AJ Brown's rookie year, so I can prove it right now. Here's my name at the top. You can see
Yep.
in.
Yep.
And then down there at the very bottom with my final pick was AJ Brown.
You fucking dog. You fucking dog. Such
And
fucking
that's why you should trust me on Jermaine Burton. Right there.
what was the other 2020, 21, 22, 23 seasons like?
I took Garrett Wilson his rookie season.
Okay.
I took Tank Dell in his rookie season last year with one of my last picks. The ones that have not panned out were Terrace Marshall in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that who would be 2023 was Tank. 2022 was G Dub. 2021. Who was the receiver in 2021 for my team?
You know what the secret is, right, Ben?
That is going to kill me. I cannot think of it.
Well,
I don't know who
you know what the real
I
secret
know
is?
for a fact that I know for a fact that I took Terrace Marshall in 2020 and it went horribly. It was not good. Just absolute monstrosity.
Well, think about it this way. Think about think about every player in the league and how many of them have unique names when they're really good. You know, it's kind of like if anybody's a WWE fan, it's kind of like when you say the ring announcer's name of WWE champion Tom. He's not gonna be a fucking WWE champion. He's not gonna do great. You gotta do the name test of like who's gonna be great. Jermaine Burton sounds like an Adam Thielen type guy, and Adam Thielen's solid, but he's just solid. You know, I'd rather have a fucking Michael.
All I need is solid.
Michael Pittman.
All I need is
Jr.,
solid for my
Zay
last round pick.
Flowers. You know, that's what you gotta go fucking with. You know, all these really Keon Coleman. That's my shot right there.
I wish I knew who I took in that 2021 draft.
They'll come to you. They'll come to you.
I guess I could look at the 2021.
No, Ben. Take too long. You gotta know the shit on top of your head. You gotta come prepped.
Well, I'm just looking it up for my sake at this point.
All right. Well, kind
See,
of
so this was
as he tries to figure it out. Lamar Jackson, my quarterback, I think is just very solid. Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, very elite duo of running backs. Michael Pittman, Zay Flowers, a little bit less of a little bit higher floor, but a little bit lower of a ceiling with those two. Dalton Kincaid could be a dog. I think he's
Elijah Moore. It was Elijah Moore that I took.
He was fine.
He actually did okay his rookie year. He was not very good after that.
49ers, Brandon Aubrey, not too much competition. I like this depth, but also hate it at the same time. I'll be honest with you. I love the Zach Moss and Zeke picks. I'll be honest with you. Zeke as my fourth running back, 100% happy with. I love Zeke. Khalil Herbert, I think he's a safe backup running back. And then you got three receivers who I just think have a very good floor. That's kind of the moral of my story is I go for good floor wide receivers and try to go high value in everything else. Which could work out, could not. We'll see. We'll see how I draft in the actual league, and I don't know if we'll record that one, but I'm still debating on which drafts we record in the future. We'll probably record me and Ben drafting that from that one league, but we'll explain that in a different video. But I hope you all did enjoy. Rate whose team's better, me or Ben's. Who's going to win our leagues? Because actually, in the league that we're in with Ben, there's been 4 years of that league, right? This is the 5th.
Yeah, this is going into year 5, I think.
So me and you,
I've won twice. Jack has won once, and you have won once.
So in this lobby, we have 3/4 of the winners from that league. So I mean, this is expert realism here. So we do. We got some good mindsets here. So I'm really excited for it. Hope you all did enjoy the video for this nice little conversation, more podcast style video. It's nice to have these every now and then, especially my boy Ben. Love him to death, and we'll see y'all in the next one.